Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Colette, and I created this channel as a safe space with you in mind. I help Black women to embrace new seasons of their lives with purpose and joy. Today, I am so excited to have Dr. Kamani Norrington Sands. Her YouTube channel is called Lifting as We Climb Consulting Wellness Services. And you all have heard me speak about her channel so many times. Dr. Kamani, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Yes. Well, I'm so happy to be here too. And I know that we call each other Harriets, the Harriets, right?
We
So I'm
do.
so happy to be here with my sister in the struggle for liberation, right? We have
Yes.
very similar views about being in a toxic job and leaving. So my name is Dr. Kamani. I just go by Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist in Los Angeles. Proud Spelman alum. That's what you see in the background. And that's about it. I'm a toxic job survivor and I'm committed to helping other Black women get out of a toxic job because we deserve better. And we'll talk more about it later.
We will talk more about it. And today, we're going to be continuing my Black Women Get Out and Tell series, or you can call it Black Women GOAT, Get Out and Tell. And Dr. Kamani, I just wanted to talk briefly about how you decided to start your channel, Lifting as We Climb Consulting Wellness Services. Was the what was the premise of the channel, and what prompted you to start the channel?
Yes. I started a little over a year ago. And it started when I was in a very difficult situation where I took a leave of absence from my toxic job because I knew that I couldn't continue there. I knew that the job was harming me, but I was too scared to leave. And I knew that the job had become a form of trauma for me. And as a clinician, I know that part of the healing for trauma is to keep talking about it. So I decided to talk about it on a YouTube channel. And part of the reason why I did that was part of the toxicity at the job was trying to silence me and to
Mhm,
demean me,
mhm,
right? And for me, I was determined to not let that experience silence me because then it became a trauma trigger to other experiences in my life, right? So I
right,
was like, you're not going to silence me because I'm going to get louder, right? So
right,
I'm going to
right.
talk about it on a YouTube channel.
Yes,
And what I found was that so many Black women started reaching out to me and saying, thank you for having these conversations. We appreciate it. We need it. I thought I was alone, right? And I
right.
started off with kind of just sharing my journey. And then I started doing like interviews, right? And I know that other Black women have been talking about this, like Dr. Carrie Yazid. I
Yeah,
was reading her books. I had her on as a guest. I know Minda Harts does this, have these conversations. But my focus is more so on like the healing part of it, right?
right.
Because it is so traumatic and it affects you on such a profound level. And I know, Colette, we've talked about it in terms of
Yeah,
how devastating it is, right?
yes.
And how the healing is an ongoing process. It's not just one day you wake up and you're healed. So basically, the YouTube channel was my effort to start my healing journey, right? I'm still
Right,
healing, start
right.
my healing journey, but also the more I talked, the more feedback I got from other Black women. And then I felt that it was my mission as my inner Harriet to help
Yes,
Black women out of a toxic job by showing you that there is a way out, that healing is possible, that we're not victims, we're victors, right?
that's
And
right.
I can help in that healing process. So that's kind of what inspired me.
And I really resonate with your reasoning because I started my YouTube channel for a similar reason, because I felt when I experienced my own trauma in a toxic work environment where I was experiencing, the different assaults, the harassment, the career sabotage, and what have you, where the main tool or one of the main goals, it appeared to me, was to silence me,
Yes.
to say, hey, you don't, not only do you not have a voice, you don't even have a right to have a voice.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so,
Right.
right. And I didn't realize when I started the channel how
Mhm.
cathartic it would be for me
Yes.
to discuss what happened and the trauma that I experienced when I was in my toxic job. And I
Yes.
know some people say, well, you might, they may think, oh, you keep talking about it and it just brings it up. And if I'm honest, sometimes I do have triggers still
Hmm. Hmm.
when I discuss certain topics or if I see any content related to certain topics.
Yeah.
One of the things that it made me realize, in fact, I was watching one of your videos and you were talking about something, doing a really good job. And I was listening to it and you said something and I had to stop looking at the video because I had such
Wow.
a reaction.
Yeah.
But what it made me realize is even though I had taken a year in between getting back into the workforce after I left the toxic job that I was previously in and currently taking up an assignment I have now, I thought, I was a little further along than I am.
Hmm.
That video and that response, not the video, but my response to the topic discussed on the video made me realize, hey, I still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not a one and done. It's a continuum because it took a while for this trauma to really unfold and my body to manifest all of the responses to it. It's going to take some time to recover. I remember, and you probably know the more the specific information, but I remember when I had gone through a divorce, and I remember somebody saying that it takes the amount of time that you were married, it takes at least half of that to overcome the trauma that you endure after the marriage. And I
Yeah.
said, that's a long time. So
Yes.
when you think about, um, because that's a loss,
Hmm.
and then when
Hmm.
you're dealing with this, leaving a toxic workforce situation, it's not only trauma, but it's also a loss, even though it was devastating,
Exactly.
right?
So the grief, right? And I'll talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Can you speak?
Yeah, yeah. So the grief, when I talk about it, sometimes people are like, grief? Why would you be grieving a toxic job, right? Now I'm not grieving the toxicity and I'm not grieving the horrible things that were done to me, but I'm grieving the dreams that I had when I came into the job, right?
Right.
Or when I started my job, it was wonderful. You know what I mean?
Right.
I had great Black women supervisors who were very supportive. I'm still close to them now,
Right.
right? They were, and I was thriving. I was doing what I wanted to do, right?
Right.
And they supported my growth. It was just ideal, right? And in
Right.
fact, I would say to them, you know, if you have to have a job, this is an ideal job to have. That's
Right.
what I initially said to them, right? And I
Mhm.
knew that's where I belonged, right? Because I was respected, affirmed, growth supported, the whole thing, right? But when they retired, Colette, I knew I was in trouble.
Wow.
Literally, when they retired, I said, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. And it was
Wow.
true. I was in trouble because there was nobody, in upper management who really was able to protect me,
Right.
right? So then
Right.
I was vulnerable. So the dream lost of, wow, this is how it used to be when I came in,
Right.
right? The dream, even when they left, how I still had that purpose or that mission to
Right.
really advocate for Black kids, right? So I
Right.
work for a school district in Los Angeles. And so I was so determined to help Black kids, and I was
Right.
going to fight. I didn't know, no matter what, I'm going to fight, fight, fight,
Right.
right? And I had to let go of that dream, right? That I was going to make some changes for Black children in the
Yes.
school district. I had to let that go,
You had
right?
to let it
I
go.
had to let go of the pain and the betrayal of those who I thought I was cool with, who
Yes.
betrayed me, right? Who
Right.
talked about me behind my back, who shared personal information that I had shared with them, right? And
Right.
that is extreme pain. And we talked about this in terms of the off
Yes.
kinfolk and kinfolk, right?
That's
Because
right.
they were other Black women,
That's right.
right?
And
So
that,
that was just, oh,
I think, and to me, and to your point about not all skin folk and kinfolk, I don't think that we people fully appreciate the additional devastation that that causes.
Yeah.
And my situation was similar in that I was on the inaugural team of a program that was being rolled out, the first of its kind in the nation. You know,
Wow.
yes, there was no other paid family leave in the nation at that time when we rolled out the program in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a part of that inaugural team. And the person who was over the program, who my boss, she was a Black woman. So
Mm-hmm.
I was so excited
Yeah.
to to be there. And I'm thinking, we are literally making history,
Yeah. Yeah.
literally making history. And so it was very, very exciting. It was very just thinking, it's kind of, I guess, I mean, it's not like walking on the moon, but it's kind of like, nobody has really been here in
Yeah.
America, in the US, right? And so here I am, a part of this program, and I had been a part of another first of its kind program in when I worked for a private company, insurance company, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for this government agency, and I've said the name, I'm not going to shy out about that, but you know, it kind of started then, though it didn't end up, it went around. That's
Mm-hmm.
what
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
where that's where the dream killing began. And
Oh,
I think
the
that
dream killing.
that's what it is, because you go in, you're starry-eyed, and you're thinking about
Yes.
how you can support this dream, how you can
Yes.
take this vision and make it something nice. And for me,
Yes.
it was about service, because I'm thinking about
Yes.
all the people in California, all the workers that we are serving, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying, that
Yes.
did not have these benefits. And we are starting it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we are implementing it. And it's something
Yeah.
that took a long time to get approved.
Yeah.
So when you have these situations where you can't even really do your job because you're being attacked by folks who uh, people of color, other people of
Yeah.
color. I don't
Yeah.
like the term because
Yeah.
it's set up for us. And
Yeah.
so, it started with, attacks on my character from other people of color, to
Hmm?
where I was made to feel like I should dumb down because
Yes.
they didn't know certain aspects of the business. Okay. I had been there, but they were over me. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So there
Mm-hmm.
was and then for the sister who was in charge to not
Mm-hmm.
even consider that I have a voice,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
allowing the trope of the angry Black woman trope, allowing that
Hmm.
was very harmful and hurtful,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because you would think that somebody who is also that would say, hey, hold on a minute, let's investigate this.
Yeah. 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 And, if we're all working on a common goal, why not uplift one another? Because we're all working for a common goal, right?
Right.
And it really shows you that people really are not concerned so much about the goal. They're focusing more so on their ego, right?
They
So a
are.
bruised ego, whatever, you might show them up. But, in terms of what you were saying too, Colette, I was thinking of several things. One, in terms of the grief of, the dreams, but also the grief of sometimes we beat ourselves up when we're in these jobs and when we stay at these jobs, right?
Right.
Sometimes we beat ourselves up like, why didn't I tell this person this? Or why did I stay there so long? Right.
Right.
So the grief is in relation to ourselves and having that self-compassion, because a lot of times we don't have that, and the
Right.
ability to forgive ourselves because we made the best decision we had at the
Right.
time, right?
Right.
And also when we think about grief too, sometimes, and Colette, you may have even, I know I have, I met some really great people at the job, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome
Yeah.
people
That
that
I'm
some
still
I'm still
friends with.
connected to.
I'm
Yeah, some
still
I'm still
friends with
connected
today.
to, right?
Yes. Hmm.
But knowing that you two no longer have that common goal, you have a common community,
Right.
right? Sometimes that could be sad too.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
sad.
all of those things, yes. And then when you talk, Colette, about people of color, and I think, we're all like, well, what's that? But basically we're saying non-white people, right?
That's right.
That these things that happen in the workplace, that they could be white or they could not be white. So I don't want people to think, oh, it's only white people. It's
That's
not
right.
only white people,
It's not.
because the main person who caused me harm was not a white person. It was a non-white woman,
That's
right?
right.
And she was the puppet master,
That's
right?
right.
But people sometimes forget that, or they give them more of a pass because that person can say, oh, well, I'm from a marginalized group too. But
Right.
that doesn't absolve them from also being a terror to other people.
Right. And I think that when you were saying giving them a pass, that's why I don't like the term people of color, because it's
Mhm.
grouping us all together, and
Yeah.
there's certain marginalized groups within that
Yes.
people of color that are consistently on the bottom and looked
Yes.
down upon by others and are unprotected, right?
Yes.
And we
Yes. The
see that
anti-blackness
there,
within
and
that.
that's what I was getting at. It's the
Yeah.
anti-blackness, and people
Mm-hmm.
seem to think, oh, this person is also black. How could they be anti-black? They don't
Mm.
understand that the very systems that we are
Yes.
living in and we're working
Yes.
in, those
Yes.
very systems are systems that all of us are in. And you get those thoughts or you don't get those thoughts. You follow those actions or you don't follow those actions. And you can be black, white, another person of color, but people don't seem to understand, okay, just because this person is black,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean they're not doing white supremacist stuff.
Exactly.
We just saw an example of that.
Yes.
Okay, when people were
Yes.
saying these people were black who did this to this person,
Mm-hmm.
black people, we already know.
Yep.
We
Yep.
know that that does not mean, we've seen it, we've lived it. We have
Yes.
historical events to show.
Yes.
We know. And so, getting back to what you said when we were talking about, we no longer have a common goal. I guess the other sad part about that is when you realize we're not rowing in the same direction.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
I thought we were going this way.
Yeah.
And now,
Yeah.
not only are we not rowing in the same direction, you're doing everything possible to push me off the boat.
Right. Right. So
A
the
boat I helped
irony,
you build. A boat I helped
right,
you build.
right. And the irony, right, is that you're trying to silence me or put me in my place
Right,
when all I'm trying to do is to excel in the work that I'm doing.
right,
What?
right.
It makes no sense.
No sense. And it makes you look good because you are the boss.
You would think, right?
You would think. And so that's what's frustrating. And I went way back, like I said, to 2004, but my stuff continued for a while. And like you said, the part about having to forgive myself at the time, I was a single mom, I was newly divorced, and what was really difficult for me was when I was dealing with my divorce, I didn't deal with it. I worked. So I threw all my stuff into work,
Mm,
right? And I worked long hours. Kids are at the daycare. Well, I didn't realize that I was grieving the
yeah.
divorce. And I'm
Yeah.
working, I'm kind of, what do you call it when you focus on something else when you're really trying to,
Displaced focus.
I'm displaced focus was on work so that
Yeah.
I didn't have to deal with this situation over here. And
Yeah.
then when all of that, then I started getting harassed at work. It's like now you have nothing.
Yeah. And guess what? Let me just say that.
Yeah.
So a lot of times what happens, like that is a classic example of, you repressed what was going on with your divorce, right?
Right.
And then you poured all that energy into work, right? And then when the work started becoming a source of trauma, then the trauma that you experienced from the divorce mirrored some of the trauma you experienced at the job.
It did.
Yes. And that happens. I know that happened to me, right? And that was one of the girl, I had like 9,000 signs it was time to go, right? But
Right.
one of the serious signs too was this job has now become a trauma trigger to my past traumas,
Right.
right? And I
Right.
was like, this is not okay, right? The silencing, the demeaning, humiliation,
Right.
right? So
Right.
all those different things. And that's why I'm so glad we have this conversation, because I think, a lot of times as Black women, think about what we've been told about, you just work twice as hard, you get that
Right.
education, you get these
Right.
credentials, all these different
Right.
things,
Right.
and you're just going to promote, you're going to do well, and blah, blah.
Right.
That's not the reality.
That's
Many
not
of
the
us are very
reality.
disillusioned in these jobs, right? And
Right.
so I think what's hard is that what happens when we do have terrible work environments, because what's so sad is that I think you and I have experienced so many Black women watching our content and commenting and talking about, oh my God, that happened to me, that happened to me, that happened to me. And I was just thinking about the video when Stephanie Perry interviewed me, and now we're at like 30,000 views with like over 700 comments. And I'm
Gosh.
thinking, oh my God, this many Black women, and that's just a sliver, right?
Exactly.
Just think of how many Black women are out here in these toxic jobs, feeling stuck, feeling like there's no way out,
That's
right?
right.
And the toll that it takes on them, right? So we already know that Black women have higher rates of experiencing toxic work environments. We already know that. The research is already out there, right?
It's
We already
there.
know that Black women are not getting the support they needed from management. We already know that, right?
That's right.
We already know that, Black people, if they dare to talk about their accomplishments, then they're seen as, oh, you need to dim your light, or
That's
you need
right.
to tone it down some, or
Exactly.
whatever. The tone policing, like there's so many different things that as Black people, when we go in the workplace, we have to mask, right? So we're
Exactly.
masking all day, like, how are we saying this? And
That's right.
how did I express that? And right,
Right.
you're
Right.
you're masking yourself all day, and that takes a toll on us.
It's
And the
exhausting.
reason it's exhausting,
It's
and
exhausting.
it's killing us, right? So,
Yeah.
the American Heart Association did research recently, and they said that Black women are developing cardiovascular disease at an earlier age, and we're dying earlier. So it's not just, oh, you just don't like your job. This is really a matter of life and death. No joke.
It is a matter of life and death. And eventually, after so many years of dealing with this toxicity, and I mean, what people don't understand is, especially if you stay in the same company or the same organization, how you may leave one, let's say one area, but you're
Hmm.
still within the organization. You go to another area. These people are talking. They're all talking. And so
Yeah.
one of the things I wanted to talk about is a little bit is about the organizational lynching that happens to Black women
Yeah.
in these toxic jobs, where
Hmm.
your name is muddied and
Yeah.
your name is your career is sabotaged.
Yeah.
So even when you go place somewhere different, and if it's in the same, agency,
Hmm.
maybe a school district, or for
Hmm.
me, a government, the same government agency,
Hmm.
these people who are doing this, they
Hmm.
continue the behavior. And not only do they continue it, they share information with somebody else. So you can't even get a fresh start.
They blackball you.
They blackball you,
Yeah. Yeah.
which happened to me.
Hmm.
And the funny thing about it is they never say there's anything wrong with your work,
Hmm.
which is what your performance should be based on.
Right. Right.
It's always something that they can use, that's a subjective performance
Yes.
factor. like
Yes.
like they can't say you're not a team player, because hell, a lot of times you are the team. Okay,
Yes.
hearing
Yes.
everybody
You're
on
the
the team.
leader and you're the team too. Yes.
You're the leader, you're the mascot,
And you helping everybody else out too.
team manager, getting
Mm-hmm.
people's towels and
Yep.
stuff. And
Yep.
though they'll try to throw that out there sometime, I know they did with me. You show your
Mm-hmm.
paperwork, they
Yep.
don't have nothing to say. So then what happens? It's your attitude,
Oh
which
yeah.
is subjective,
Yeah.
your attitude, your uppity. I
Yeah.
know one of the things I was told is, we were talking about Black women are expected to dim their light, like people in general, but Black women specifically. I remember when I earned my master's degree in my 40s, single mom, went through a
Mm-hmm.
divorce. And one of the things that I had heard was, you're talking too much about your master's degree and you're doing it to put other people down. And then the Black woman who I had mentioned earlier, I think I mentioned it on your channel,
Mm-hmm.
she told me, I'll never forget it, that should have been me. Instead of congratulations, that should have been
She
me.
showed herself right there, right?
she showed her complete,
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
trying not to get blooped and beeped,
Yes.
but she did.
Yes. The truth came out, right?
Yeah. You want to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, so many things, but I was the only clinical psychologist in the whole district, right? And within my department, I was the only one who had a PhD, right?
Wow.
There were some people who never acknowledged that I had a doctorate. Not that I was going around bragging about it or whatever, but it was no acknowledgement of it whatsoever. That was the
Right.
one thing. The
Right.
second thing was when I did go to human resources, because that was a whole sham, right?
Yes,
So,
it is.
when I was having issues, people were like, oh, go to human resources. Big mistake. But when I
Right.
went to human resources and I, share with them about what was happening to me, and it was so interesting. The whole thing about me is that I did all these things on my own, right? I did all these anti-racist things when George Floyd was murdered. Oh my God, Kimani, come help, right? I did up and above,
Right.
right? Out of the blue, they decide to demote me, right? Saying that my position was no longer a full-time position, even though
Of
I'm doing up and above the work, right? So
course.
now I'm putting place in the entry level position where I started all those years ago, more than 10 years ago, right?
Right.
Entry level position where those that I was helping and training, and they're over me now, right?
Right. Right.
Entry level position. But what was so crazy, right? So, you know, the only clinical psychologist, when I promoted previously, they closed my position,
Of course
right?
they did.
Well, they closed it, right? But then when they demoted me, when I so called did not have a full time position, guess what I did? They reopened the position so I can
Mm-hmm.
go to the demoted position, right?
Right.
So all of that in terms of putting me in my place, like, oh, you think that, or
Right.
hearing other people talking loudly around me, um, oh, PhDs are so arrogant. I'm the
Right.
only one, right?
Right.
So what are you talking about?
Right.
And then just to fast forward, when I went to human resources and I share with them what happened to me, um, and it was so ridiculous because they were doing this gaslighting thing with me
Right.
that
Right.
even though I had a higher degree, they were making it seem like people who got a credential took the extra effort to get a certificate. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Like, and you don't even need a certificate to have to do the job. What are you talking about? Right.
Right.
But it was like that gaslighting, right? And
That's
they
right.
told me, well, they took the time to do this. I'm thinking,
Really? A
what? Like,
PhD?
what's happening here? Right. So all of that, again, when we think about being in a toxic job, it's not just that we want people to see us, we want respect. That's
That's
all we
right.
want,
That's it.
right? And
That's
we
it.
want to be able to do our jobs without being
Harassed and bullied.
harassed and
That's right.
traumatized.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all
Yeah.
we want.
I know for my experiences when you talked about being demoted, I remember when I was demoted and it was under the guise of developmental opportunities. And what they ended up doing is I had my own office where I was managing a call center. And so I I was at a certain level.
Mhm,
I'll say a two. Okay, I'll just say a manager two,
mhm,
program manager two classification, and within that classification, within that classification, you can have various working titles.
mhm,
So I was a manager two, program manager two, and my working title was field office manager. Right.
mhm, mhm,
So as a manager too, you can be a section manager. That means within an office, you're managing a section.
mhm,
Or you can be an assistant field office manager.
mhm,
Okay. But generally, what happens is you start off as a section manager
mhm,
and then you become an assistant office manager of a larger office, right? And then you become a field office manager of a large office. Well, I was a field office manager, but I was still a program manager too because my office was small. Had
mhm,
my office been bigger with more staff, I would have been a program manager three.
mhm,
You understand what I'm saying?
mhm,
So I had previously been a section manager.
mhm,
I had previously been an assistant office manager in larger offices, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when they demoted me, I was an actual office manager. What they did is they decided to rotate me, okay, without my consent, and I did not agree to the rotation. I told them they involuntarily rotated me. And so they said they were doing it for developmental purposes to develop me. And what they did is they put a white lady in my, I mean, they put a non-white man, non-black man, what am I trying to say? Marginalized man from a,
Okay.
you get what I'm saying?
Yes, I got
Put
you.
him in my position, okay? Move me to section manager in another program and move this white lady to assistant office manager in a bigger program. So I asked them, where's the developmental? I get where the development is for them. The
Right.
white girl is
But
doing
not for
something she never
me.
did before, right?
Yeah.
He is doing something he's never done before. It's
Right.
really a promotion, even though we're
Yeah.
all getting paid the same money. I'm being rotated back to something I've already done before. Where's my development in this?
Right.
And
Right.
coincidentally, Dr. Kamani, this developmental opportunity happened after I had been written up because the same white girl who was rotated had accused me of doing something. I was written up. I was told they're not going to investigate it. They're not going to talk to my witnesses. They had already written it up.
Wow.
Basically, yeah. And I said,
How you
well,
investigated?
not going to investigate. I presented a list of at least 40 witnesses. I was supposed to have said something on a statewide conference call with a minimum of 40 people. I still have the list to this day. And I said, well, did you talk to any of the people? And they said,
Yeah.
it wasn't necessary. I said, well, wait a minute.
Wow.
Yes. So what happened? I was told, oh, this is an informal write-up. It's not going in your official personnel file. It's just going to be in my working file. We call them a drop file for 6 months. And if there's no further incidences, then we'll pull it out. So when the 6 months came, he didn't want to pull it out. This is another person of color, non-black. Didn't want to pull it out. So after I rebutted it, and he had to pull it out. He ended up pulling it out. Right after that, they did this developmental opportunity.
Wow.
Because what I rebutted, and I said, listen, because I verbally said it, I said, listen, I feel like the only reason you're not investigating this because I'm black and she's white. I said, she accused me of doing something. I'm telling you I didn't do it.
Right.
There are 40 plus witnesses you can talk to.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You have decided you don't want to talk to them. And I believe if I was not black, you would be talking to at least 5 of the witnesses.
Right. But not to do that at all.
But just not even not to do it, but to say it's not necessary.
Wow.
So the write-up included that. And then it also included, they said that I glared at her.
Wow.
This, again, there were other witnesses in the room. I said, well, did you talk to the other people? It wasn't necessary.
Wow.
So long story short, this white person, this white lady, she gets rotated and I'm going in her place, which is down for me. It's backwards, right? We're all still getting paid the same money, but it was a huge reduction in responsibilities for me. Okay.
Yeah. You were growing.
Exactly.
You were stunted.
Exactly. Increased responsibilities for those two. So it was truly developmental opportunities. Coincidentally, both of them went on and promoted to manager 3s. Guess who became my supervisor when I ended up retiring from that place? The same woman that lied on me.
Wow.
Yes, the same one.
Wow.
And so she started harassing me. I had to end up going to the legislation, to the legislators.
Wow.
Because they refused to they wouldn't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you said, it was gaslighting. You go to them and, and when I say them, I mean her manager, her manager, you go up change. And I had one of them, the same black lady, she got promoted to a chief. And I went to her and said, to a division chief, and I said, listen, this is still happening. She straight out told me, I'm not going to do anything. because
Ooh.
she said, I'm not going to do anything because I hire people to do that. I'm
What?
paying somebody else to do that. I said, well, he's not doing anything. I said, so I'm going to document that I told you
And what
this.
did that mean, sister to sister? I'm coming to you and I'm telling you I'm being harmed, and you're telling me you're not going to help me.
She said,
That's
straight up,
that's devastating.
straight up, it is not her job. And I told her I would be documenting this. And I told her what I would be doing. And that's exactly, I went right to the legislators,
Wow.
listed her boss's boss, listed everybody. Next thing I know, the sit down conversation I needed to get, I I got it. And I was allowed to go on to a special assignment where I didn't
Uh-huh.
report to these fools.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And so that go to show you they were willing to do that as opposed to deal with the problem. All I'm
Yeah.
saying is investigate it. You might investigate it and find that I was in the wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Investigate it though.
Yeah. But I think that's an example of how when things happen to us, that there's something within us that says, no, you're not going to do this to me.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
that we continue to use our voices and say, no, no, this is not going to. So we fight. Right.
We fight.
But
Yeah, we
the
do.
challenge is this: on the one hand, that's good. On the other hand, we fight to the extent that we hurt ourselves sometimes, because
Exactly.
sometimes we don't know when it's time to just leave it alone. It's not even worth the fight, right?
Exactly.
So you
Yeah.
talked before in terms of all these people knew this stuff was happening to you. Nobody really helped you because the
Nobody.
system is toxic. It's not just a few people, the whole system is toxic.
The entire system. And
Hmm.
what's so bad about it, Dr. Kamani, what bothers me more than anything is they know the system is broken and
Oh
they know
yeah,
it's toxic.
yeah, they do.
You know what I mean? I used
Yeah.
to say it's like a sewer. You know what I mean? Everybody who, if you ever walked in the sewer and you come out, what you gonna smell like? The
Yes,
sewer, right?
yes, yes.
If you're near the sewer for a long time,
Hmm.
you're gonna pretty much get that stink on you a little bit.
Yes,
So everybody in
absolutely.
there is smelling. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Right,
I don't want to be smelling. We need to do
right.
something about this, even if it's
Yes.
not just for me and it's for the next sister that's behind me, which
Hmm.
is one of the reasons why I continue to, you know, raise my concerns because there was another Black woman manager who they were also harassing, you know,
Wow.
and this same Black woman wanted me to continue the harassment of her, and I refused. I
Crazy.
refuse. And so I'm saying all that to say, when I talk on this channel, uh, I want people to understand that it's we expect certain things from the outside, but
Hmm.
that inside is devastating, and that's what makes it more painful.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I let you in to a certain part of me
Yes.
that authentic part of me where when I come in this job, I'm not always authentic because I can't be authentic.
Right. Right. Because we've been trained and we know to always look out for other people. You know what I mean? Like,
That's right.
but when you see somebody's Black, sometimes you checking them out, like, are they cool?
Are
Right.
they
And
all
you,
right?
right. And can I kind of let down my guard a little bit?
That's right.
And then they come in and some of them, some people do,
That's
not
right.
all, because
Not all.
we both
Absolutely.
have had wonderful experiences with other Black people in the job, but
Most
some.
are wonderful.
Yes.
Most.
Yes.
I'll say most. And so I don't
Yes.
want this to come off as, oh, we're talking about, all
No,
that.
not
Oh
at
no.
all.
It's those few
Yes.
that make it just horrendous,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then I've also had Black women rescue me,
Hmm.
you
I
know.
have too.
They have rescued me. They have
Yes.
seen the stuff and said, wait a minute,
Yes.
this is not right. I remember I had gotten ill at work, and I told you about this where they had to call the ambulance. I thought I was having another condition, the condition you talked about women having, but I was having anxiety. I didn't know.
Mm.
EMTs come, they're rolling me out. I'm having problems breathing. They tell everybody to stay back. I There's a manager decides she gonna just ignore them and gonna walk up to me on the stretcher on the gurney while they're rolling me out. Okay, and she gonna come touch and try to talk to me. They've told everybody to stay back. I tell her don't
Wow.
touch me. I come back from a doctor ordered, okay, leave to a write-up because I was told by telling her not to touch me, that was rude. And I was written up for that.
Wow. Wow. So again,
Written up.
you talked, Colette, about the social hierarchy within their jobs, right? Which
Yes.
is very much influenced about white supremacy.
Yes,
And
it
so
is.
that's an absolute reflection of that.
Exactly.
Absolute.
Exactly.
Yes. And I
Exactly.
want to say something else to Colette, because you talked about it when you were on the stretcher, right? So the part about, I think, for us, yes, it's important for us to continue to fight and advocate, but self-preservation is number
Yes.
one, right?
Exactly.
So when you start recognizing the signs that you are being harmed by these jobs, and I think a lot of us ignore the signs. Like I said, I had 9,000 or maybe more, right?
9,000,
And a
right?
lot of us ignore the signs and then we get wiped out,
You do.
right?
You get
Yeah,
wiped out. You get
yeah,
wiped. You get what I mean, literally wiped out,
yep,
to where I would have to wheel my legs to get out of bed.
yes.
Wheel my, because, on the one hand, you have to work, you have to
Mm-hmm.
support your children, but you also know that every single day you're going back into a position to where you are dehumanized.
Yes.
Because when I was being wheeled out on a gurney,
Mm-hmm.
and I am saying, don't touch me. The reason for the write up was because I refused to apologize to this lady
Wow.
and say I'm sorry that I think he told me that I should have told her I need to tell her I need to apologize, number one, and explain to her that I was in distress and I meant no harm when I told her not to
As
touch
you were on the gurney.
me as I was on the gurney. That's what he wanted
Wow.
me to do.
That's so ridiculous.
I said I'm never going to do that. She need to be apologizing to me,
Yes,
you know.
yes,
And
yes.
so I said, and I asked him. I said, "Did you talk to any of the other witnesses?" The EMTs told everyone to stay back.
Mm-hmm.
He again told me this was the same person who wrote me up before.
Wow.
He said it wasn't necessary. He told me it wasn't necessary, and I said, so I said, so what I say, it don't matter what happened to me, it don't matter, right?
No,
And
no.
he didn't say anything. He
Wow.
said it. He wrote me up. He said it was rude and discourteous. So I do have to say that my rescuer, when the harassment continued, because now I'm reporting to this person
Mm-hmm.
who tried to touch me on the stretcher, different lady. Um, she came down because I started getting closed out of meetings. They would have meetings with all the upper managers. I was the only one not in those meetings, and I happen to be the
Wow.
only one that's black. And
Wow.
so,
What a coincidence.
what a coincidence. And the staff started noticing all the upper managers are in there because you could see through her window, right? They're like, well, where's Colette? And
Mm.
they'll say, are you supposed to be in this meeting? I say, what meeting? So I play it off and go walk by there and I see them in there. They see me walking, they don't invite me in. So
What?
I'm like, what? And so I would send an email and say, hey, did I miss a meeting? No, you didn't. And they would continue with, and this happened continuously. So
Mm.
I elevated it. The one black lady who I told you didn't do anything, I forgot what happened to her. I think she was off or she got another position or something. And so they were rotating. I know what it was. They were rotating our region. They were splitting it up in a different way, reconfiguring it. So for a small period of time, we were all under this other black lady who I told her what was going on. And she came to our city. She lived in another city. She drove to our city with her child and her spouse to talk and investigate and get my side and get the other woman's side. That was the first
Mm.
person who did that.
Wow.
She told me after the investigation, um, yes, you are being sabotaged. Okay.
Wow.
She said one time and she told the white woman, she said, not including her in one meeting, okay, that might be a
Mm-hmm.
accident. A
Mm-hmm.
second time, maybe an oversight. But a third and fourth, that's a pattern. And I had all my dates. That's a pattern.
That's great. So
So
that you had the receipts.
have my receipts. So funny
Yeah.
thing is, me and the woman, we send emails. Oh, we're gonna try to work together. You know how you do all that.
Mhm.
Soon as this woman left, this lady told me it's nobody. I don't care who come here. She's not gonna tell me how to run my office. And as
Whoa.
soon as that's when I had to end up going. I went to the legislator because
Wow.
then our region rotated back to the other black lady who told me she's not doing anything.
Oh,
Rotated back to her. So I
that's a
went to the
mess.
legislators, and next thing I know, I was being put on a special assignment for 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting, Colette, because we were talked about that experience and you talked about the organizational lynching, right? And I
Right.
was thinking about my experiences and also your experience that I think about the term that I think I made it up, psychological lynching, right?
Yes.
So in
Yes.
the sense that your name is not only being trashed, right, and being sabotaged, but the psychological lynching is that it gets in your head,
It does.
right? And you
Mhm.
start questioning yourself and you start questioning why things are happening. And then you are demeaned and demoralized in front of everybody else. So everybody can see that you're not invited to the meeting, right?
Everybody. Everyone.
Everybody knows that you've been
Mhm.
demoted, right?
That's right. That's
And
right.
how dare you? So if you do these things, look what happened to Colette. Look what
That's
happened
right.
to Kimani. If you
That's
do
right.
those things,
That's
this will
right.
happen to you too, right? So it's a fear tactic to control.
It is a fear tactic, and it's very, very. I like how you said. I mean, you're questioning everything. I mean, it was to a point, and you probably went through this. I'm sure, maybe you're walking on eggshells. If I
Absolutely.
breathe wrong,
Yes.
I mean, it got to the point. If I said anything, literally,
Hmm.
it was it was rude, or
Yeah.
it's the way I said it. If I didn't say anything, they told me I had an attitude.
Oh.
If I said nothing at all, if I said I agree, I mean, it was not it. I couldn't have done anything
Yeah.
to change
Yeah.
this perception. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could have taken additional projects, which I did.
Yeah.
Work longer hours, which I did. I was
Yeah.
salaried, so I didn't get paid for that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is like you said, it gets inside because you're like, what is wrong with me?
And and you start thinking, what is wrong with me? And or why don't they see my worth? So I'm going to work harder and I'm going to take on more stuff and I'm going to do more projects, right? And I'm
Right.
going to keep trying to prove my worth to them.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like that mind trip, like they're not even at your level.
Right.
So why are you trying to prove something to somebody who's not even at your level?
Right. My mom would say that every day. She said, baby, you dealing with people. She started off by saying, you dealing with people in high school. Then she said, okay, I'm downgrading them to junior high school. No, these people
Oh,
in kindergarten. I mean, my mom, because we talked about how when you go through these traumatic incidents in these toxic work environments where you're being discriminated against and bullied,
mhm.
your family sometimes
Oh,
is going,
yes.
they're going through it with you.
Yes. They're traumatized. It's vicarious traumatization.
They are traumatized by it.
Yeah.
And, in fact, my daughter, I'm gonna share this with you. When she was the oldest one, when she first went to college, to where she went to school, um, a, an organization approached her to pledge, and it happened to be the organization of this black lady that was harassing me, and she said because of that, she refused
Ooh.
to pledge it.
Ooh.
Because
Wow.
of that,
Wow.
she refused
Wow.
that organization.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember you talking, Colette, too, about, your daughters were very instrumental in saving your life in
Oh,
relation
they
to
were.
toxic job, right? Like
Yes.
even if you weren't gonna recognize the signs or you were gonna try to push through it, they were like, no, mom, you got to go.
That
You gotta
they
go.
did that, and it's kind of like how you had mentioned one time your son was saying, hey, you
Yes.
have to go back to this job.
He's like, don't go.
Go. Don't
Hmm.
go. But my daughter, literally both of them, just let me know you need to quit. And it's really weird, not weird, but the situation with the pandemic. where we were all working from home and they had to go to school from home and they were able to see it. If that had not happened, I don't know that I would have actually retired.
Oh,
And I say retire, but I call it resignation by retiring because I would have continued to work had I not
yeah,
been put in such a situation where I felt like I was fighting every day
yeah,
just to do my job in peace.
yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
And your kids were like, Mom, this is crazy making,
This is
right?
crazy.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And what's interesting is the pandemic for me also helped me really reevaluate my life, because I think there were times it's like, oh my God, what's happening with this pandemic, right? And so
Right.
I was like, okay, is this the life that I want to live for myself? I said, no, I do not want to live my life where people I don't trust or respect are having this much influence on my life
Right.
and my family's life. What?
Exactly.
Like, and I did not work this hard to get to
Right.
this place. What? Like, it was like a wake up call. Like, no.
It was.
Mm-mm,
It was.
mm-hmm.
That honey. I mean, I feel bad for all of the people that we all lost.
Yes, yes,
I do, and so I don't want anybody to think that I am not. I don't feel bad for that because I lost people, a bunch of people too that
yeah,
that I was related to, that I knew. But what I can say is that changed a lot of things for me, and
yes,
it
yes,
forced me, and it encouraged me, and supported my uh, it challenged me to
mm,
think about how life could be.
yes,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? How it
yes.
could be
And
if
life is so short
it's so
and
short.
it's precious, right? And
Yes,
so why spend more time at a place where we're being harmed
harmed daily.
daily,
And what I
daily?
find interesting, since we're recording this during Black History Month, what I find interesting is, the word you use that we feel that we are devalued, and I
Mhm.
felt devalued every single day. It was almost like a daily thing where people needed to put me in my place and let me
Oh
know,
yeah,
hey,
trying to.
trying to,
Yeah.
you don't have
Hmm.
value, okay?
Hmm.
But when I'm working on my doctoral dissertation, and it's funny because part of my research took me back to some things about our enslaved ancestors. And
Hmm.
one of the things that it talked about is how devalued Black women are today. However, during the chattel slavery days, the most valued enslaved person on the plantation were Black women because they described how from their arms up they were able to pick cotton and produce for the plantation. And from the waist down, they were able to produce more workers
Wow.
for the plantation owner. So the most valued, enslaved person during slavery
Yeah.
was a Black woman.
Yeah.
Isn't it ironic how we are the most devalued now?
Yes. 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 And it's interesting you talked, and I remember you talked before about calling the workplace many times like a plantation. I think a lot of times it does operate like a plantation. And I
Yeah,
think sometimes we try to make light of it, trying to survive at the
yeah,
plantation.
yeah.
But the other part too is that this is the historical aspect as Black people, how we are treated as workhorses and we
Yes,
are dehumanized as if we're not people,
yes.
right? And that we should just take it, and you better not get out of your place.
That's
You
right.
better be quiet.
That's
You
right.
better be happy, right? Oh, you
Right.
trying to be uppity?
That's
Oh, we're
right.
gonna put you back in your place. So all these different things we're still experiencing. And particularly since we're in Black History Month, for me, and I think for you too, Colette,
Yes.
it's like I feel like I'm giving honor to our ancestors
Yes.
and speaking up and speaking out and said, no, you're not gonna silence me. And guess what? I'm gonna help other people out of this plantation, right?
That's
I feel
right.
like I'm giving honor to them because they paid the price for us to be here now,
They
right?
did.
So how do we continue the legacy? Is to help other Black women out.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you're right. They paid it with their literal blood,
Yes.
sweat,
Yes.
and
Yes.
tears. You
Yes.
know what I mean? And they paid the price for
Yep.
us
Yep.
to be able to have a voice,
Yes.
and for it
Yes.
not to be silenced, and for us
Yes.
to be respected. And now I know people gonna say in the comments, Black people are not the only people treated that way. That is true. And people need to do their channel and talk about their situation.
Yes.
Okay. We've been allying all kind of people and nobody allies for us.
True.
Okay. So this channel is curated specifically towards Black women, Black men. You guys are on the channel and I appreciate you there. My brothers watch the channel, so go ahead and comment. But what I will say, if I get comments saying, derogatory things about this conversation, you get blocked and deleted. I just have to say it. I used to respond, but I don't do it anymore.
Yes.
We recognize that we have indigenous people, Native Americans that were treated horribly, as bad as us in some cases, in many cases, and stuff we don't even know about, right?
Yeah.
And we are not going to be comparing trauma. We're talking about a specific group of people that experience something, and we're having the conversation because we wanted to stop and we wanted to stop now. And what we're saying to Black women is, listen, and we call each other, as Dr. Kamani said, the Harriets. Okay, we can't say that, put that on a T-shirt because it's trademark. It's a band. Okay, so but we call each other the Harriets. Harriet and her sister, whatever, because we are letting you know you have a choice.
Yes.
You have a choice.
Yes.
And
you deserve better.
You deserve way
better.
better. You deserve way better. And this is not a bragging or an ego thing. This is just a thing about humanity.
Yes.
You as a human being to work in a workplace that is free from bullying, from discrimination, from hostility, from sabotage. You deserve that. You earned it. And even if you didn't earn it, our ancestors paid for it.
Absolutely.
They did the ultimate pay it forward for us.
Yes.
So did you want to add anything else? I did want to bring up briefly about your videos that you are doing. You all, please go to Dr. Kamani's channel and subscribe. It's called Lifting as We Climb, Consulting Wellness Services. And I will put a link in the description box below. But I did want to talk about, because we've talked about what has happened to us, and I'm going to have her back on the channel and she'll be live first week in March during our first Fridays. So I wanted to briefly let the audience know about your videos that you did with S. Ann Marie Archer, the anti-HR lady.
Yes.
Specifically the videos where you talked about the first steps to leaving your toxic job for Black women in hostile work environments. And then she did a follow-up video, and that's called Next Steps to Leaving, your toxic job. Also, Dr. Kamani does hers are live, so you can watch replays. I have put the links to these two replays in the description box. But do you want to talk briefly about those? I like how Anne Marie said, because I said tell. She said put it on Glassdoor, put it on Indeed, put it on Inside Voices. Your experiences.
Put these organizations on notice. Yes. And that's part of the reason why I'm doing this work too, is that, number one is that I want us to be okay and I want us to live a good life, right? So that's why I'm helping Black women get out. And that's what I'm talking about. And I keep talking about it, right? Yes. But the other part, what Anne Marie was talking about too, is these organizations need to be called out, right? So if the system is toxic, they need to be called out. And I think a lot of times what happens is that people get frustrated, they leave, and they'll talk about it to other people, but other people are coming in, they don't know these things are happening, right? So I was thinking about something that one of my Spelman sisters said, Dr. Monica Cox. She says that a lot of these organizations are bringing in people and they're becoming slaughtered,
They are,
right? Because
literally,
they have no idea
no
about
idea.
what's really happening there. So Anne Marie was talking about post on these platforms so people can, when they do research, because she talked about part of the next steps for going to leaving that toxic job is do your research about any other job you want to go to. Do your research. Look at these other platforms. What do other former employers say about these jobs? What do your friends who work there or other people you know who work there, what do they say about those jobs? Would they want to work there? Would they
Right,
recommend that you work there, right? So in terms of really doing that research so you don't end up in another toxic job, right? So that
right.
was the next steps, right? The first steps, because Amory Archer is a HR consultant and an attorney, she talked a lot about documentation, right?
Yes,
Make sure you have your receipts, make sure you're documenting, not on company stuff,
right,
right? Do your own documentation and do not keep that in the office. So
right.
talking about those ways to protect yourself and also thinking about, really thinking about what is your exit plan, right? And as you think about your exit plan, are there things to consider so you can leave with your coins, right?
That's right.
So Amory Archer is the premier person to talk to, right?
Yes,
If you're
yes,
thinking about leaving your toxic job and it might be toxic, hostile, discriminatory, whatever, and you want to talk to her, she can help you in terms of what language to use to HR and
yes.
how do you leave a toxic job with your coins.
That's
Don't
right.
leave no money on the table.
Don't leave money
Okay.
on the table. That's right.
Yes,
And
yes.
I will be linking Anne-Marie Archer's her YouTube channel in the description box below. And I will also be linking she has a product that helps you to document and shows you how
Yes.
to document. I'll link that in the description box, excuse me, box below, as well as Dr. Kamani's products. Um, before we close, I do want to briefly ask you, and maybe we'll talk about it on our next video when we're together or on your channel.
Okay.
But I wanted to know what three things would you encourage a Black woman in a toxic job to do right now? Maybe she cannot leave.
Mm-hmm.
She's stuck. What
Okay.
three things would you encourage her to do?
Okay. Number one, I encourage you to pay attention to the signs, right? I think a lot of times we see the signs and we keep pushing on. I need for you to pay attention to the signs, right? That's number one. Number two, if you're not able to leave your job, but you can take a leave of absence, please do that, okay? Because that gives you a moment to kind of pull back and you can have some perspective and you can start healing, right? Now, I always say to people, I find it very difficult to heal in that same environment that's harming you. So that's what I'm saying. Please take a leave, right? The next part that I would really recommend for Black women is to get into therapy because this is traumatic and it impacts every area of your life, right? So it impacts not only how you see yourself and how you function individually, it impacts your relationships with your children, your partner, your family members, all these other things, right? So again, pay attention to the signs. Two, really, if you can take a leave, please take a leave. And three, get therapy. Those are the top three. There's others, but those are the top three, I would say.
Yes, yes, thank you for that. And the other thing, if I could just add on to that, Dr. Kamani has a coaching program where she sort of walks you through um, how to think about, leaving, how to craft your exit plan. And so I do, and I'll put a link to to your website
Mhm.
for your program. I'm in the program, and I already left a toxic environment, we gonna have some more talking to do. So you got to be careful because you don't want to take, your toxicity to another work environment. That's
Yes.
number one. And number two, I think you want to make sure you're healed. I'm not sure if you're going to be completely healed, but
Yeah.
you're mostly healed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it starts the healing journey.
It starts the healing journey. And then Dr. Kamani also has a workbook, a digital workbook. Do you want to talk a little bit about the workbook? I can link that in the, below too.
Yeah. So the Welcome to Your Queendom digital fillable workbook, I created that because when I was at that toxic job, I was just so disconnected from myself. I'm just trying to just make it every day, right?
Right,
So I needed a roadmap to figure out how do I get out of this place, right? And
right,
how do I reconnect to myself? Like I can't even think about when was the last time I did anything that made me happy,
right.
right? How do I reevaluate the people who I have around me going forward? How do I really give like myself some grace and self-forgiveness? So all those things in terms of really connecting to myself, the fillable workbook helps you reconnect to yourself because we are queens,
We are,
right? And a lot of times these jobs make us feel like we're not, but the workbook helps you reconnect to yourself and remember that you are a queen. And I just want to say this really briefly, right?
right ahead.
So during my graduation for Spelman, our graduation speaker was Oprah Winfrey, right? And she said, remember in life that people will try to treat you like a slave girl, but you remember you are a queen girl. And
Wow.
I always remember that. So when people would try to treat me like a slave girl, I
Mm,
was like, I don't, who are you talking to? You know what I mean? Because I
right,
know who I am, right? Like I'm a
right.
queen. What? So I want you, anyone watching this, I want you to remember that you are a queen, right? And I have on my shirt, grounded in greatness, because we are queens and we are grounded in our greatness. Even though people try to make us think that we're not great, we need to remember our greatness, right? And
That's
we
right.
need to be grounded in that because that helps to provide a psychological armoring as we
That's right.
go out into these hostile, toxic, discriminatory work environments. So remember that we are grounded in greatness and that we are queens.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank Dr. Kamani for taking the time out to appear on my channel, to talk to us and kind of help us, not kind of, but help us actually. She is paying it forward and she's walking the talking the walk, or how do you say it?
Walking the talk.
She walking the talk. Okay. She's not just, talking about it. She is about it. She is, like the kids said, she is the truth. And that's why I'm really glad that I was able to hook up with her. And how you meet somebody who you're gonna be cool with for the rest of your life. So
Yes.
I'm looking forward for our rest of our lives to be um, great. And I also wanted to point out that this shows you how community works,
Sisterhood.
sisterhood, community,
Yes.
all of that. And that's what we're building on our individual channels.
Yes.
As we sojourn through our individual, whatever it is, we have different processes and, excuse me, different purposes. And, but we our paths cross, and during intersections, it's about how are we going to treat and value those intersections. She and I were connected through another sister. Her name is Stephanie Perry. You probably heard us both talk about Stephanie on our individual channels. She is the co-creator of Exodus Summit. And so that's how we met, or we're connected, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
through Stephanie Perry. Shout out to Stephanie. Stephanie got
Yes.
grown kids. We older than Stephanie, and we consider, we like, what's Stephanie doing? Okay.
Yes.
She like, she got grown kids. And so we appreciate her, both of us, we appreciate
Yes.
her bringing us together the way she has.
Yes.
Dr. Kumani and I have never met in person, but we have just decided, we are sisters, right? We're
Yes.
sisters, and we are committed to, encouraging Black women to
Yes.
consider your options because you
Yes.
have them, and to
Yes.
use your voice because you
Yes.
have one. And I'm going to
Absolutely.
let you end it and then we'll,
Oh,
go
I
ahead.
just want to say this, Colette.
Go ahead.
I know that God meant for us to meet.
Yes, he did.
Truly. I mean, the stuff
Yes.
you say, I'm like, oh, I was just about to say that, right? So I know that we were meant to meet.
Yes.
I also want to say my hope is that the audience can also see sisterhood in action,
Yeah.
right? So we have talked about all skin folk and kinfolk.
That's
Those
right.
are some rare, those things happen,
They're rare.
right?
Yes.
But we are modeling what sisterhood is,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
So me promoting Colette, Colette promoting me, that doesn't take away from either one of us,
Neither one.
right? That
Neither.
uplifts us and hopefully it helps us support other Black women. And I really want Black women to pay attention because there's so much chatter and noise about, oh, you can't trust you. No, let's reject
Right.
that. That's a lie.
It's a
That is a
lie.
lie. We have talked, even in our conversation, we've talked about so many Black women who
Yes.
believe in sisterhood, right?
That's
We've
right.
had them on our channels. We
That's
follow them. We're all these
that's
other
right.
things, right? Stephanie Perry, S. Henry Archer, all these people,
We out
right?
here. We out
We are
here.
out here. So your sister,
Yes.
find your sisterhood circle. That's what we're saying, right?
That's right.
Find your
That's right.
sisterhood circle. It is so healing.
It is.
And I want to say to Colette that Colette, I've always believed in sisterhood, right? Particularly as a proud Spelman alum, right?
That's right. Yes.
Always believed in sisterhood. But meeting you has really helped reaffirm my belief in sisterhood. So I
Oh,
appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. And I feel the same exact way. And I really look forward to us serving our sisters together, and
Yes.
I love it. I like the title of your channel. Say it for the people again, because it's
Yes.
about what we doing.
Yes. So lifting us, we climb consulting. And that came from the National Council of Negro Women. That was their motto, right? Because they believed that as they move forward as a people, right, in terms of what they were doing, they had to lift up the community as they were moving forward. Our individual accomplishments mean nothing if we're not always pulling up
Right.
everybody with us, right? So I wholly believe in that, right? And then the other part of this, so lifting us, become consulting wellness services, because I'm all about wellness. Okay. So
Yeah,
whatever wellness means, physically, mentally, spiritually, I'm all about it. And I want to support our individual and collective healing. And we deserve better. I want us to know that we deserve better.
that's
And
right.
that if a toxic job is hurting you, that is not the place for you.
That's not the
That's
place.
not the place for you.
That's not the place. And you do not, I repeat, you do not have to stay on a toxic job. Because
Yes.
I'm going to tell you, like my daughter told me, she said, Mommy, you always tell us all money ain't good money. If you did, what's
True.
the point of getting a paycheck you can't spend if you're not here?
Exactly.
That's out of the mouth of babes. So
Exactly.
I just want to say thank you, Harriet, for coming on my
Yes.
channel.
Thank you, Sister Harriet.
And we will be back on this channel on March the 3rd. But um, talk really quickly about the panel
Yes.
that
Yes. Yes.
we're going to
Yes.
do. Let the people know about it.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you. So
Yes,
again, Sisterhood in Action. So you may have read this article on LinkedIn where it talks about how Black people are often dinged in the workplace if we dare to talk about things that we've done in the workplace, like our achievements, right? So
right.
we're told dim our light, or you're doing too much, or you're trying to brag, or you're trying to make other people feel bad, right? So we're going to have a panel because what happened was when I read that article, I was like, that happened to me, right? And then when I started reading the LinkedIn comments, I was like, this is a lot of Black women who are talking about this, right?
Yes,
And that's usually what inspires me to do YouTube videos. Is that
right.
I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Let's talk about this, right? So when I saw how many Black women were commenting, I was like, we need to do a panel on this, not just one other person, right? So this Thursday, we're going to do a panel. Colette's going to be on the panel.
Yes,
right?
I
And then we
am.
have some other powerful Black women on the panel talking about that article and also the message. And many of us have had this experience of
Mhm.
going from pet to threat at our jobs, right? So we are seen as, oh my God, Colette is so great at doing these different things and creating these programs and writing and all this. We love Colette, right? The pet.
Right, right.
As soon as Colette starts getting some shine, right? And people acknowledge, like, oh, that was Colette. Colette becomes a threat,
That's right.
right? And if Colette dares to say anything about the toxic system,
There you go.
she's a threat again. So we got to push her out and we got to make it so uncomfortable, right? So
That's
we're
right.
going to be talking about Black women in toxic jobs, pets a threat, this Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and 6 p.m. Pacific on my channel, Lifting As We Climb Consulting Wellness Services. So please watch and share with other Black women.
Yes, and that link to her channel will be in the description box. And once she sends me information, it'll also be in my community post. We'll have an actual link to the actual live, right? Is that going to be a live?
Uh,
Well,
I
maybe.
think we'll do, I think we'll do a link to my channel because I don't know how
Okay.
to. Yeah.
Okay, we'll do a link. We look, we still working it out. So she, we kind of walking down Lenny on each other, so we'll get it together. But please join us. Thank you so much for watching. This has been a long video, but it's been very interesting. I am not editing anything. So I appreciate you all. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give it a thumbs down. Uh,
No, you
oh,
don't.
yes, we do. We do it all. We do both of them. You can do up, you can do down, do them all. Put your comments in, be respectful. We really appreciate you. Subscribe to the channel. And did you want to add something else, sis?
Yeah, I want to say one last thing, right?
Yes, go
I
ahead.
want to commend you on saying you're going to upload this video and not edit it. So I just want to share with the audience just a little bit of conversation we had before we got on, right?
Okay.
So Colette said, oh yeah, tonight I'm going to edit the video. And I was like, why? Like, no, I don't want you doing anything else tonight.
That's
You
what
know
she
what I
said.
mean? Like rest, right?
That's
And I
what
just
she
want
said.
Black women to know that we deserve radical rest. Our
Yes,
ancestors paid the price for us to have radical rest too, right? If you are
yes.
not following the NAP ministry, follow the NAP ministry, read her book. We deserve rest. And I'm so proud that Colette is saying she is not going to do more work tonight.
I'm not doing anymore. Sometimes you get them sisters, they the boss of you. So she the boss of me. I'm gonna go ahead and let her be the boss of me. And speaking of the NAP ministry, I have already recorded a video about that. It's in the queue. I just need to upload it. But anyway, we're gonna cut it here. Thank you. Watch, subscribe, share, comment, thumbs up and thumbs down. And I will talk to you soon. So stay on, sis. I'm going
Okay.
to pause this. Hold on.